Lili Nishmasimi Mirasi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shiur is being sponsored by Ian Meltzer from South Africa. Refuah for Yaakov Eliyahu ben Leah and Moshe ben Leora. Ooh, by the way, my neighbor, Donnie Sofer, who lives right below me, sends regards to Ian Meltzer. It's a great, because, the long distance phone calls today are expensive, so this is the way to, but the world is so small, it's unbelievable. I guess Ian is a very famous guy over there in South Africa. Sponsored by Avi Gargir for the neshama of Avram Yoina ben Velvel. Rabbi Isai, yesterday, Avi Gargir, it was his first time, I think, in the Beis Medrash in 6 months, right? It was 6 months ago that we left the Beis Medrash. We're finally coming back. And just in yesterday's daf, it says Gargir, which is the rocket plant. And right on top of that word, it says Adam. Adam Gargir, that's his name. Unbelievable coincidence. And finally, sponsored by Shia Greenfeld. This is his third sponsorship this month, coming off the Turn the Daf sponsorship of last month. L'zeicha nishmas Yeshua Heschel ben Yekasil Yehuda, who is named after Shia Greenfeld. I don't know about the last name, I know the first name. So the neshama should have an aliyah. The neshama of Avi Gargir's, who's that Avi? Father-in-law. Yeah, I said already. All right. A quick email. We're a little late today. We had some technical difficulties in the new Beis Medrash. Rabbi, so you're probably wondering on Zoom, where is Seth Hellman? He's on every day. What?
There was a video that came out. Trump is now referring to Kim Jong-il as Gargir.
Did they hear what he said? Kim Jong-un refers to, Trump is referring to Kim, what's his name? Kim, whatever his name is from Korea, as Gargir. Hello, Rebelli. I want to reach out because it's been a long time since I've been live on Zoom. I recently went back to college and been settling into my schedule. This week was the first Shabbos at school. And I'm happy to share that this was the first Shabbos that I managed to keep in its entirety. So I think he's saying this is the first time he kept Shabbos. I don't think he meant in school. He's a Baal Tshuva, he's Seth from, where is he, Pennsylvania? No, New Hampshire, that's right, New Hampshire. Keep him, and some very generous, one of the mishpacha sent him a whole bunch of art scrolls. That's the guy. From using the dorm bathroom in the dark to waking up late for davening because I forgot to turn on my phone's Shabbos alarm, it was truly one special day. There's no way that I could have done this without learning what you have taught me or without the support of the entire MDY family. 9 months ago, this would not have been possible. And it's all thanks to your dedication, giving your shiur every single day. While I may not have been on Zoom for a while, I've been diligently watching the recordings on YouTube. I'm hoping to be able to come on Zoom 2 or 3 times every week going forward. See you soon. Seth Hellman. All right, Seth, way to go. Hatzlacha G'dayla. No? Yes, Seth! All right. So we're very instrumental in bringing people to Eretz Yisrael, in Kiruv, in Geirus, in everything. It's like it's a whole, all through Torah. Zok the Heilig Gemara holding 7 lines from the bottom of Chof Ches Koyach Gufa. Omer Rav Yehuda Merav says Rav Shus. These hops that we were talking about yesterday, the beer hops or any hops. V'chazis. Chazes is the non-mature grain, the green grain, marvin bem. He holds you could make an eruv with them. They're edible. Not only the real food, you make adama, you make an eruv. So now we're going to have a whole sugya, the different shiurim of food. Because in order to make an eruv, you have to have the amount of 2 meals. But you're not going to eat, not everything is 2 meals. Dessert is a very small portion. What do you eat for dessert? Cholent is a larger portion. Every food has a different amount. So hops, bekama. Rav Yechiel kimloyad, 1 handful. Hachanami kimloyad, he says it over there. Same halach applies over here, a handful. Chazis bekama and green grain. Amarav teviyah by Yitzchok. Amarav kimloy. Uzilta the ikare, like a bundle of the farmers. Omrav chilki by tovia, ma'arvin bekilya, says Rashi, it's hard like wood. Bekilya sokadaita, how can you make an eruv with something you can't eat, with wood? Ela biyarka de kilya. It's talking about the vegetable part, the leaf part of the kilya, or the vegetable part, vikama. What's the shiur? Rabbi Yechiel kimloya yad, handful. Rabbi Yirmiyah nafak likir yoso, Bominei went out to the city. They asked him, Ma'ula orev bepoilin lachin. How much cholent, beans, soft beans, what's the shiur? They have biyode, you didn't know. Yosel be midrash, he came to Beis Medrash, Romalei, hochim Rabbi Yanai. Me'arvim bepoilin lachin, vekama Rabbi Yechiel kimloya yad. So this is the Rabbi Yechiel that we mentioned before, the kimloya yad, here it is. Rabbi Yechiel says, a handful of beans, so too a handful of kishus, the hops. Omer Rav Menuna ma'arvim betrodim chayim, raw beets you can make an eruv with. Eini v'omer Rav Chizda silka chaya kotel gavra chaya. Live beets killed a live person. In other words, raw beets killed a live person. He's just using the same word to make it all cool. It's like a rhyme. Silka chaya kotel gavra chaya. Raw beets is really dangerous. Chavtes Amud Aleph. Ahu bebashal v'lo bashal. If it's cooked and not cooked, it's like in between, it's really dangerous. I don't know if this is true, and I'm scared to look it up, but when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell, Amrli aim, Amrli safta. If you drink water that's half boiled, it's really dangerous. You heard about this? You're all saying, it's true? I didn't even want to look it up, because in my mind, it's like mamish. She told it to me when I was like 8 years old, and that's it, it's stuck. It's probably a Baba Maisa. It's definitely a Baba. I don't know about the Maisa. Well, it was a Baba Maisa. I don't know if it's Emes or not. Soon we're going to get, here he goes, soon we're going to get the Google version of this from the Baskel. We're going to be holding another sukkah. Some say it started from the opposite way. You cannot make an eruv with raw beets. It kills people. Nobody dies from it, right? In Taboon restaurant in Chicago, that's what they serve on the table, the beets. It's that in between, it's like half raw, half not. Anybody remember this thing from Brachas? No? It's good for the eyes. Here, I found it online. Beets are good for the eyes, good for the this. It's good for the heart, good for the eyes. Certainly is good for the stomach. Omar Abaya, you'll remember the sugi now. It's on the pot. Tuch tuch. It makes that sound, tuch tuch sounds. In other words, it's boiled so well that we don't have this problem that it's half cooked, half not cooked. It's really, really cooked. It does the tuch tuch song. Back in the day, when you guys had more, when you're more into it, we had a tuch tuch song here. Omar Rava. Says Rashi, Rava was in a great mood. I'm not saying this, Rashi's saying it. His mind was clear, and he was in a b'dicha mood. He was in a very happy mood. Not like tzanas, but very happy. Areini kivin azai, b'shuki Tveria. This is Abai says it a bunch of times in Shas. I feel I'm so clear now. Ask me anything like Ben Azai. Ben Azai said about himself. They're like the peel of the shum. Besides a kireach, who's the kireach? We had it, a sugya. Who's the kireach? The bald one. Rebbe Akiva. Rebbe Akiva. We had the sugya just a few days. What? Oh. Ben Azai. Son-in-law. Hareniki ben Azai b'shuki Tveria. Ask me anything you want. I'm ready. What about apples? What's the shiur for apples? How many apples for an eruv? Says Rava to this Talmud, you can't make an eruv with tapuchim. Now, if you look at the Chav Zayin Amud Beis, the top Tosfos all the way at the end, it says Tosfos he was playing around with him. He was just trying to see if this guy is on his feet. So he said, you can't make an eruv with apples. But Rava knew you could. So the Talmud starts fighting with him. It says in the Mishnah, now, food cannot make a person tameh, but if a person eats a certain amount of food, then he's not allowed to eat truma. Stop. How much? Chatzi pras. Pras is a half. We said a loaf of bread is 4 beitzim, I believe. Half of that is 2. half of that, a half of a half, b'chatzi pras, ubemazin shtei suudos la'eruv, and 2 meals for an eruv. In other words, we're talking about tziruf of foods. I could take a little bit of chont, a little bit of kugel, a little bit of schnitzel, and fish, and put them all in that. And now, if I eat all that, and it's tamei, I can't eat truma. Or I could take all these foods and use it for an eruv. It's not. I don't have to have one roll, one piece of whatever gefilte fish. It has to. It could even be mitzdarif. I can use different foods. And if I take different foods and I add it up to an egg, l'tamei tumas achlim, to be mitama food. So where's the question from? What part of these 3 things is the question? If you tell me, because it says all the foods are mitzdarif, and apples are edible, did you forget Daf Chav Ches, the famous, I forgot already, it's not even Chav Ches. It was Daf Chav Zayin. Chav Zayin, Rabbi Yochanan said a klal, that every klal, you could break a klal, and he brought a bunch of rayas from Mitzvah Seishas Mangrama and Zav, all these things. Our Mishnah, it says that only 2 foods are not proper for an eruv. Turns out there's 4. The Mishnah doesn't even count mushrooms. So you can't bring a raya from here. Maybe apples are not considered part of the food. Since it says that I can make an eruv from all these things together. And it says in the same sentence, an egg's worth to make tumah. So that they're in the same category. Now, you have to admit that an apple is in the category of tumah. Could be mekabel tumah, right? People eat it, so therefore it's mekabel tumah. If it's mekabel tumah, it's in the same sentence as eruv. So you could make an eruv from apples. Why are you telling me? Rav is asking this Talmud. You can't make an eruv out of apples. Here, the Talmud brought a great raya you could. Because it says in the same sentence, tumah, as it says eruv, and apples are mekabel tumah. So too, Rabbi said, I don't know what's going on. I just realized. Where are these glasses? Here we go. It's like, what? Shalom Aleichem, Dani Kramer. We missed you. I see your son every Shabbos. He comes to our house for hours. And he's a great kid, but I would love to see you. So, Shkoyach, where is he? I don't see him. But Rabbi, I just got to tell you real quickly. A lot of our cars are type. Yesterday, doorbell rang, I'm not exaggerating, 4 or 5 times with Amazon packages, and I'm not exaggerating. Because I said by mistake, and this is not a hint, and Chas Hashem, anybody, my wife broke her nose on Shabbos. I said it before the Shiur, but on Zoom, somebody sent flowers. And then the door knocks, and then there's the new kokosh cake delivery from New York, Ben Klein with all the mugs and the bags. I have to bring them to the base medrash because the B'Yomin Schwartz. Well, I said B'Yomin Klein. Sorry, B'Yomin Schwartz. B'Yomin Schwartz. And then we got a present from a certain part of America. I can't say his name and I can't read his letter. A nice gift from Eichler's. The Kitzer door didn't stop ringing. And here we go. And this morning is like this. All right, enough. You guys want to kill me off here early. It's not a good idea. Zog the Gemara. So yishkoyach to everybody. Tremendous akar satayv to Mr. Anonymous from Anonymous. What do you call it? I'm going to keep on saying it until he says his name. Zog the Gemara. Everybody's nervous that I'm going to say people's names. So he wrote 16 times. Do not read my letter in public. Do not. He didn't say I can't say what he got me. That's your idea. I could. Oh, he got me a shtender for learning from Eichler's. And it says Shabbos Kodesh, and the only issue is that he wrote my name on it, and he wrote it wrong. Like, he spelled it right, but the Hagdama to the name after he erased the shtickle. It's Eli. It's not Elio. It's not a Rav Agoyin, Hatzadik, HaChosid. It's Eli. Seriously. The guy, Sruli Bornstein. It's Sruli. It's not Reb. Sruli. It's Sruli Bornstein. Me and him, we're in the same category. It's okay. You say whatever you want. It's Avi factor. Zog the Gemara. Whew. Okay. Vikama. How many apples do you need for an eruv? Or Nachman. Tapuchim bekav. A kav. It's like basically 24 eggs, 2 dozen. Meisvei, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Now, Meiser Ani, we discussed yesterday, the day before, Meiser Sheni, right? Meiser Sheni, I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, but it's Aveda. It's on Aleph, Beis, Dalet, Hey years of the Shemitah cycle. You give 10% to yourself, you bring the Yerushalayim, you transfer the money, but the other 2 years, 1 and 6, instead of giving 10% to yourself, you give 10% to the poor people. 3 and 6, sorry, 3 and 6, you're right. Aveda, 3 and 6. Yes, we got it. Bas Kol, you're late. Lei b'shamayim. Meisvei, Reb Shimon Elazar Omer, Uchla Tavlin. Now, you have to give the... Rabbi Isai, we're in the middle of a shir. Uchla Tavla. I forgot what's going on here. Uchla Tavla. You have to give the ani a nice amount. How much? Uchla Tavlin. When it comes to Tavlin, and remember this word, Tavlin are spices. So you give them like a shminis of a lug, says Rashi. An eighth of a lug, which is like 6 eggs. The literal yarak, and a liter of vegetables, which is a complete lug, a full lug, which a lug would be like 4 times the amount of a kiddush cup, right? Because we do a revius of a lug. So 4 times that amount. So if you have vegetables, you have to make sure you give him 4 kiddush cups of vegetables. You can't just give him like a half a carrot and send him home. Vasare goizim, and be nice and large, give him 10 nuts, v'chamisha farsikim, and 5 peaches, ushnei rimoinim, and if you're giving him pomegranates 2, ve'esrog echad, these are all chashiv. V'amar gursak, bardari, I can't hear. V'amar gursak bardari mishmeder Menashe bar zguvli, 1 time in Shas. He's right. It's the only time in Shas. Like the Rogatchover says, every Masechta has its one Tana that's mentioned only 1 time. Or Amoira, zguvli mishmeder Rab, v'chein le'eruv. So these amounts, 1 esrig, 5 peaches, 2, those are the amounts that you need to make an eruv. An eruv is davar chashav, you need a su'uda. So you see the difference, right? You don't need a certain amount of weight. It goes by chashivas. 1 esrig is equal 5 peaches. So why do you need the amount that he said? A kav, all you need should be 5 peaches. 5 apples are the same. Apples and peaches are the same. Says the Gemara, no. Hani chashivi v'hani loy chashivi. When it comes to dessert, this is what people eat. And you know, like in dessert, sometimes you get like a small ice cream, like a small little thing. You don't get a big giant dish. So memela, the amount is much less. But apples, people don't serve dessert. I'm thinking, well, my wife, this Shabbos, Punkta Shabbos, she served an apple dish.
It's not a regular apple. No, it's not that you can't eat a big apple or this apple. No.
Right, big apple, regular apple, right. Well, they say, actually, they talk about it, that maybe the Rishonim, they say that maybe they didn't have the sweet apples that we have, was different in those days, it was more sour. Because apples also, I don't know exactly when they discovered the apples that we have. I started looking it up. It's not so long ago, 500, 600 years, 1,000 years ago. Says the Gemara, Ana amrito nahalei amasnisin. Omer Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Sharei lai morei, he should be moichel morei l'Rav Menashe bar Seguvli. Rav Menashe bar Seguvli messed up a little bit. Why? Ana amrito nahalei amasnisin. I told it to him on the Mishnah. This idea that Eruv is similar to Tumah. V'amor Braisa, and he said it over on the Braisa. The Snan, in Poichasim la'ani bagoren, again, the same idea. Not Tumah. When you give the ani, you give him a certain amount. So too, by Eruv, you give him the amount of a Suda is the amount that you give an ani. So it says in the Mishnah, or it says in the Snan, in Poichasim la'ani bagoren, this is the Mishnah. You don't give an ani less in the goyren, where they make the wheat, mechatzi kav chitin, a half a kav of chitin, kav soirin, a full kav of barley. Reb Meir Omer, chatzi kav soirim, half a kav of barley, v'kav chetzi kusmin, and 1.5. You have to give each ani 1.5 of spelt, v'kav grois, and a full kav of dried figs, oi mana devela. Or give him a certain weight of the pressed figs, because pressed figs are different. Once they're stuck together, you go by the weight. Rav Kiva Omer paras, which is a half a mana, v'chatzi loy yain, and a half a loy of wine. Rav Kiva Omer revius. So he says, the Tanakhama says v'chatzi loy. You give a half a loy. Rav Kiva Omer revius. The Tanakhama says revius shemen, only a quarter of a shemen. Rav Kiva Omer shminis, an eighth. Because Rabbi Kiva is more makel because he goes according to what is good for an ani. We're talking about anim. They could survive with less. They'll take less. Shminis and oil also goes together with bread, so it's a much lesser amount. All the other peiros, whatever it takes to sell, and you buy 2 meals from it. Oh, I said it on this. Rav says v'chein le'eruv. Now, if you think about it, what's the difference? The Mishnah says barley and wheat and this and that. And the Bryce also talks about different peaches, all different types. So what's the difference? Nuts and esrig. But the idea is the same. V'chein le'eruv. Whatever the amount, whatever is chashiv to give an ani, that's what's chashiv for suda. Is there a contradiction here between the two? Why is he so upset at him? Be moichel him, because I said it in the name of, I said it on the Mishnah, and he says it on the Bryce. No, so he said it on the Bryce. What's the big deal? So why is one better than the other that you're so upset? The first one says spices. There's no eruv with spices maybe. But in the Mishnah it also mentions wheat and barley and you can't eat it raw. In the Mishnah it says a half a lug of wine, which is 2 revius, right? Chatzi lug. We're talking about a revius lug, so chatzi lug is 2 reviuses. And Rav also, he agrees. You make an eruv with 2 revius of wine. So since you need that much wine, the wine wasn't brought in the Brisa. Rav said his halacha. You see that he matches what it says here in the Mishnah. And Mameli, he said his halacha dafka on the Mishnah. He never said his halacha v'chein le'eruv on the Brisa. We learned that when it comes to eruv, you need 2 meals. So Rav Yosef it's 2 meals means 2 full meals. A piece of fish, a piece of meat, whatever the meals are. No, you can mix it up. You can do a little bit of chont, a little bit of meat, a little bit of fish. That's 1 meal. The next meal is a little salad, a little falafel. You can mix foods. You can make an eruv with 2 reviuses of wine. Ask the Gemara, you need 2 revius. The amount of wine is enough that you could eat a meal with it. In other words, Rashi says you take bread, you dip it into the wine. That's what you need. So it's not as much as 2 reviuses. Chaymetz, vinegar, to dip. Zayzim with tzalim. What about olives and onions? But you don't need 2 revius. Says the Gemara, Hasam bechamra mevashla. So they had this, I guess, in the time of the Gemara also. They had mevushal wine. So to mevushal wine, what do you use mevushal wine for? To dip it and dip, you don't need that much. It's a lesser shear. But to drink, you need a gishmaka cup. You need 2 revius. So imagine, you have a full salad. You're eating a whole salad of vegetables. So amount of dressing that you put on your salad. It's a lot of salad, a lot of dressing. And some say no, it's much less. You're talking about the side dish of the vegetable, which is much less. You're not filling yourself up. You know how these people go to the store now and they get from the bar a little bit of this, and they come out like with a huge salad. We're talking about a little bit, the potato that they put on your plate next to the meat. It's much less. How much onion? Enough to eat 2 meals. Could you use onion for an Erev? Remeir happened to be a guest in a disco. And a person showed up. He wanted to go, this guy wanted to go all the way to Tivin. And Tivin was, let's say, where your disco was halfway to Tivin. But it was past the tchum for this gentleman. So he shows up. He tells Remeir, what's going on here? I made an Erev with onions. Says Remeir, I have bad news for you. He put him in a jail, he put him in a cell, he says, you can't move. Because you just walked out of the tchum, and that's it. You used the wrong Erev. Had you had an Erev, great, but you didn't have an Erev. You used an onion. Can't do it. I told you once, I was in Komiyud when I was a kid. I was before my bar mitzvah, and we decided to take a walk on Shabbos. So we walked from the camp, we were walking, and all of a sudden, I don't remember if it was me or my friend, like, tchum. It must be out of the tchum. So we went to Rav's house, and he was being down there for like an hour. I don't remember what happened. I think he let us go. So we didn't make an Erev Tchumim. What's the halacha? Some Teimani guy, what? From the camp in Komimiut to like the Moshav or something. But we had to go through fields. We went a long way. I don't know, 2,000 amas is 4,000 feet. We probably didn't walk, it's like close to a mile. Yeah, probably not. Anyway, he gave us a hard time. Like, no, he's looking it up, and this, and where did you come from? What are you doing? Maybe we had to stay there for the rest of Shabbos. Teimani guy, some Rav over there. So, so if this is an onion, he made an Erev with this stuff, with the leaves. That's no good. That's not a real Erev. But if you make an Erev with the actual bulb, the actual fruit part, the edible part, that's a good Erev. If a person eats an onion, he gets up and dies. And I remember you don't ask any kashas. Don't be a fool. What did he die from? What did he die from? He ate an onion. Of course he died. It's a shayla b'chlal. Yeah? One of my favorite videos from like 10 years ago is this video called Shtik Yeshivish People Say During Shiva. Something like that. You know that one? So I'm thinking now it's like really anti-Yeshivish. It's like the guy goes, so did he asked the guy that's thinking, did he die? What number bus was it? So he says, the 17. Oh, that means, you mean he was jaywalking? Okay. Was the guf shalom? Whatever, it was one of those. Fine. I just came from another shiva house. Are you looking in shidduchim yet? So some guy asked. He was sitting. The guy was saying shiva. He says, "So, what did he have?" So the guy says, "He didn't have that much. He didn't have that much. It was a small condo in Florida." Okay, fine. Yeah. Who, Uri? Chaim ben Eliezer. Sounds very familiar. Before Shleim, the Chaim ben Eliezer from the Shiur. Guy from the Shiur. All right. Zog the Gemara. I love this line. Nachamal. We have to say the line again. This Anya. Achal batzal. If a person eats an onion, v'hishkimu meis, and he wakes up and dies. I don't know how you wake up and die. Because he didn't wake up and died. Nobody should be foolish to ask, why did this guy die from? You don't ask what number bus it was. You don't ask why he died. He died. He ate an onion. Of course, you only die because you eat the leaves. But the actual onion, there's no problem, you can eat it. We're turning to Daf Yomi, sponsored by Asher, Lilin Nishmas his mother, Roiz Bas Binyamin. In the list house, Lilin Nishmas his father, Mordechai Yosef ben Ara. The neshama should have an aliyah. Make it a great day, Rabbi say. So you only say the loy aftil zirta. Aftil, I guess, is a lashon of batzal. It didn't become an onion the size of a zeres. So this part right over here, what's a zeres? This is an amma from the elbow to the top is an amma, right? So a zeres is when you go like this. You do like the gang sign, and you go from. It's a half basically. One of these is a half of an amma. So this is if it's not an amma, if it's not a zeres, then aval after zirta less lamba. If the what do you call the leaf part grew a zeres, then it's okay. It's not dangerous. Won't kill you in the morning. Omer Papa lo yamaron el leish teshichra. Rabbi say, anybody remember who Rav Papa is? Who's Rav Papa? Famous. He used to sell beer. And that's why he always said, like, people accuse me of, Rav Papa, lo yamaron el leish teshichra. People used to think that he says all these things that it's great to drink beer because he sold beer. But he knew about beer. That's why he told you. Lo yamaron el leish teshichra. It's only if you don't drink beer. But if you drink a geschmack amount of beer, these Texas guys, they spoke about beer in their video, no? Beer heals everything. Don't eat onion because of the poison that's inside of it. The Ma'aser Rebbe Chanina, ate a half an onion and a half a poison. The chalav and otalamus, and he became ill, and he was about to die. Ubikshu chaver rachem Allah v'chaya mipnei shashot tzrichaloi, because Klal Yisrael needed him. So I had a shiloh when I learned it. It could be I was learning wrong shot, but I think the Marshal also learned it. I was happy to see the Marshal discusses this. It seems like that they asked Rachmanis on him because Klal Yisrael needed him. But if not, he let him die. What's pshat? Unless this morning when I learned it completely differently. The reason why Kosh Baruch Hu answered was because of Shashat Tzrichaloi. But anyways, so the Marshal says beautiful. Marshal says that who's Chanina? It's Reb Chanina ben Doisa, the famous Reb Chanina ben Doisa. Lo ya'roid meimis, elo achet meimis. Chanina ben Doisa, we learned in Brachas that he davened for Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's son to live, and Rabbi Yochanan, he put his head down, and the son lived, and then Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's wife says, "What? He's greater than you?" So he said, "No. He's like the servant that goes into the king all the time. I'm more like a sar. How do you say sar? A minister." Oh. So basically, Reb Chanina ben Doisa is the one that's constantly davening for people, and every time he davened, the Gemara says he was answered. Right? The other story with that girl that went to the pit, and by the time they got, he says, "Don't worry, he's alive." All these stories. So, Klal Yisrael need mipnei sha'ashot tzrichaloi. A person can't daven for himself. So Memela says the Maharsha, that's the pshat. This is one time that they needed him, he didn't need them, so Memela they had to daven for him. Who? That's somebody else, no? Oh, the the whole world is v'chanina b'ni dailoi b'kav charuvim. Is that Chanina? That's Chanina Medaisa? Yeah, okay, very good. So you're saying Charuvim and Batzal, it's all in the same category. Anything that has no taste, or that makes you cry. It's Charuvim, when you break your teeth, that makes you cry. All right. Zog the Gemara. Oreb Zera Shmuel Sheichor Ma'avrim Bo, you can make an Eruv, Tchumim, Chatzerois with beer. Upoisel Samikva B'Shleishis Lugim, and if you pour it into a mikvah, before you have the 40 saw, you throw in 3 lug of beer, it ruins it. If you have colored water, it also passes the mikvah. That's not Rabbi Yossi Omer made seva poisel mikvah. So beer is pretty dirty. It should pass the mikvah just because it's water with a little coloring. What's the big chiddush? Before you have the 40 saw. When you're putting into the mikvah colored water, it's called colored water. And we know that Maim Shuvim is pasels a mikvah, drawn water pasels. So that's drawn water. It's drawn water, drawn colored water pasels. But over here, hacha shichar ekri. Nobody calls beer colored water. It's beer. And memela, I would think that it doesn't pass the mikvah. Komash Malon passes the mikvah with 3 lug. Ubekama marvim. How much beer do you need to make an eruv? Betrayed rivei shichra. Now, for whatever reason, I have no idea. Rashi throws us for a big loop here, and he says a revius over here is talking about a revius hakav, not the revius that we're familiar with, a lug. Why? I don't know. But in Shabbos he says it's revius halug. In fact, the Mesivta ignores this whole Rashi and just continues weiter with revius halug. But Rashi says revius hakav, so we're going with revius hakav. I was once in a bookstore over here, or Chaim here, and there was a nice Yerushalmi guy, and he said, I don't go with Mesivta, I don't trust Mesivta. I said, why not? He says, I'm Daf Yomi Magichir, and the Mesivta picks and chooses how they want to go. Sometimes they go with Rashi, sometimes it's Tosfos, sometimes this. They don't have a kav. Schottenstein has a kav. Schottenstein is art school. The kids are fine. Now I hear what he's saying a little bit, because they completely ignored this. Okay, Rashi made a mistake over here. You have to go with the Rashi in Shabbos. That's how. What? He says Roiv Kav. Very good. Okay. Sorry, Kidisnan, like it says, Hamoitzi Yayin. What about Shabbos? We just finished Masechta Shabbos. This is actually a continuation of Masechta Shabbos, and a lot of this Masechta is about Oitzah. How much wine do you have to carry outside in order for you to be over the rice of Oitzah? Raw wine that's chai, in other words, not diluted. Kedei mezikas hakois, enough that if you add all the necessary water to it, you'll have a nice cup of wine. Tanaylo kedei mezikas hakois yafa, a nice cup of wine. Maikos yafa, how much is that? Koishel bracha. So the cup that you make on zimun, on brachas. Koishel bracha tzor sheba roiva revius, a quarter of a revius of a kav. A quarter, not a quarter of a kav, a quarter of a revius of a kav. Roiva revius. Not of a lug, of a kav. Kedeshim zigeno v'yamud a revius. So now, after you add all the water to it, which is 1-to-3 ratio, then you'll have a quarter of a kav. Any wine that the ratio is not 1-to-3, lav chamru. Uktani seifa. Ushakol mashkim b'revius. And all the other liquids is revius. V'chol ha-shoifchim b'revius. So again, wine is a quarter of a quarter, but everything else is a quarter. Shoifchim, wastewater, b'revius. You could use it for cement, whatever. Says Gemara, so midahasam b'yitzah al chad arba, wine is four times less. Or we could go the opposite. The other stuff, the other waters, the other liquids are 4 times more than wine. Because wine is a quarter of a quarter, and the other stuff is only a quarter. So here also, when it comes to beer, it's if wine is a quarter of a lug, so then beer is 4 times the amount, 2 lug. 2 reva lugs, which is a half a lug. So beer is 2 lugs. 4 times the amount. So you ask me how much do you need for the Erev? 2 lug for beer. Not true. Less than that is not chashuv. So that's why by Hoitzah and Shabbos you need something that's chashuv. So I'm telling you what's chashuv, what's not chashuv. So that's the shear. But over here by an Eruv, it has to do with the Suda, not with chashuv. And therefore, why? People drink. Yeah, there's a lot of us that drink beer in the morning, beer in the afternoon. And that's their Suda. They're satiated with a nice geshmak, a cold cup of beer from Texas. And that's a meal. So meal for Eruv, it goes a little different. Tomorrow in Bekama, how many dates do you need for an Eruv? Amar Rav Yosef, tomorrow in Bekav. Also, like 24 eggs worth. Amar Rav Yosef, where do I know this from? The Sanyo. It says by Truma. Ochal Gregorois Vishilim tomorrow. What if a person ate, he by mistake ate Truma, which was dried figs. and instead of paying back truma, dried figs, shilim in the tmarim, he paid back with dates. Tavay alav bracha. He did a wonderful thing. In other words, we understand that he took something inferior and gave something that's better. Says Gemara, wait a minute, time out. Hey chidami, what's the exact case? I need to understand. If he by mistake ate $2 worth of dried figs and he paid back $2 worth of dates, so he didn't do anything. What's the big bracha? Why should he get a bracha for paying back identical? He took something by volume. By the way, could anybody? I couldn't think of one item that we sell by volume today besides liquids. What do we sell today in a store by volume? Anybody? It's usually by weight, right? Cereals by weight. It's 15 ounces. This is that. I can't think of anything. A cookie. What do you? What? But it goes by weight. It goes by weight. You buy a kilo of rugelach. It's by weight. What are you saying? Ice cream, which is, you think it's a solid and sold by liters. You know why? Because when they put it in the package, it was liquid. I'm just making that up. I don't know. Okay, ice cream. Yeah, when you buy gas, you're buying it by the gallon, by the liter. But that's a liquid. Okay, weiter. This is very important. Think about it. Let me know. We'll read the emails tomorrow. Fine. I'm sure there's something. Challah, but that's also by way. He ate one measurement of these dried figs, which is worth a zuz. So he's going by volume, and he paid him 4. So you see that dates are worth more. No, maybe the pshat is that at the end of the day, figs are worth more. Figs are worth more. People, it's hard to sell it, these dried figs, but they're worth more. It's actually better. So on the one hand, you gave him something that is easier to sell, so for that you get a bracha. But on the other hand, it's not worth as much, says Abai. Maybe that's the pshat. Shetisa, yeah, 2 more lines here. Shetisa, you have toasted wheat together with honey. Omer Avacha bar Pinchas, what's the shear for Erev Trey Shargushi? 2 spoonfuls. Kisane, what about dried wheat? Omer Abaya, Trey Buni de Pumpadisa. Whatever the shear is. Omer Abaya, Omer Liyaim. My surrogate mother, whatever you want to call it, not surrogate, what's the lashon? My stepmother, yeah, honey, we said already, it's the wife of Rabbah maybe, brought down in Shas many times, probably 20 times in Shas. Hani kisani malu, these roasted wheat grain are very good, liliba. In Hebrew it's called shalva. It calms you down maybe that's the pshat. It helps with anxiety. And my stepmother told me, if somebody has heart pain, should take the meat from the right side of the ram, and take like the dung, the waste of an animal that was deposited in Nisan. If you can't find that because you're in the middle of Tishrei, if you can't find Kabui de Riyasa, take these twigs of a willow tree, burn them, and eat it, and you should drink diluted wine. Rabbois, have a wonderful geschmacke day. Shem Elois, Memakim V'Sicha Adonai. Adonai, Shem Elois, huh? Simcha Slicha Leman Tiborei. Ki ze Adonai ki sanam shid do chalti. Boiker. Va be mei fdos. Ki sanam ki mei fdos.